One thing that I bet we could all agree on is that there's a lot of conflicting information about health. Wouldn't it be nice to have some clarity on the foundational aspects of health? With all the confusion, it's easy to lose sight of the basic principles that create abundant health. Well, that's what Dr. Monique and I are covering in this episode. As a naturopathic doctor, she has established 5 pillars of health that she lives by and teaches her clients. After practicing for 12 years, she has seen these principles change her patients' lives time and time again. Today, you're going to get some free advice that could have a tremendous impact on your lifelong health. Welcome to the Daily Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Meredith. I've led my family on a transformative health journey for over a decade, and now I help other families do the same. So this is a place where you can learn about healthy living and take the next step in your wellness journey. Dr. Monique, thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Melissa.
I'm excited to get to know you more. So could you kind of share a little bit of your story and how you got to where you are today?
Certainly. Well, I'm a naturopathic doctor, and when I was about 8 years old, I developed chronic urticaria, which is just hives. I got hives every single day. It started on a summer vacation, just woke up, and my family at the time took me to see kind of like a natural practitioner, which was actually an iridologist who gave me some really good insight. However, the plan that he put me on didn't actually, it wasn't sustainable for my family at that time. Very expensive, lots of supplements, and it really didn't do anything to my uncomfortableness of the hives on a daily basis. So that kind of faded out and we couldn't follow up. When I came back from vacation, I went and I saw allergists, pediatricians, and no one could understand what was going on, why I was having these chronic hives. So fast forward some years later in high school, I always wanted to become a doctor, still struggling with the hives. And when I finally made it to the pre-med program of my choice, I realized 2 years in that I actually didn't want to become an allopathic doctor. I didn't feel like allopathic medicine had a solution for what to me seemed like a very benign situation. It was just chronic hives, just daily hives. I mean, I wasn't passing out. I wasn't having anaphylactic shock. I was just swelling up everywhere, every single day. It didn't matter what I ate. I could eat, macaroni and cheese today and have a really severe breakout. And then next week I could have mac and cheese and I'd be totally normal, So it was like, there was no rhyme or reason to it. So I thought, well, I want to help people get well, really well, and change their lives. So this is not panning out to be kind of the direction I want to go into. So thankfully, I had a really good friend at that time who was in the same program as me, and she was changing direction as well. But she gave me some really good advice. She was like, Google natural medicine. I found out that you could be a doctor of like natural medicine. And so I did, and I went to an open house at the University of Bridgeport College of Naturopathic Medicine. In fact, I went to 2 open houses just because it was so
to make sure.
Yeah, I had to be certain about it. And like, I'd never heard about naturopathic medicine, practicing homeopathy and herbal medicines and vitamins. Like, that was all new to me. So I was like, I just want to make sure that the message is consistent every time I go to an open house. So when I went, I spoke with upperclassmen, practicing doctors, and the school dean, and it was just really eye-opening for me at that moment. And one of the upperclassmen who I really connected with, he came over and spoke with me, and we're very similar in that he had a family, young family with kids. I didn't have kids at the time. And he was commuting from the Bronx, New York, to Connecticut, which I would have to do because at that time I was living in the Bronx. And he was like, it is difficult. It's hard. I won't lie to you. He was like, but this is the future of medicine. This is the direction it's going to go. And we're talking about in 2001, 2002. And I was like, really?
Wow.
And so from there, I just became more intrigued, and against everyone that I knew, with their questions and their doubts, we don't know anyone who practices this medicine. How can you support your family? Do you know that you'll make a good living? All these practical questions on their part, came up, but in my heart, it didn't matter that I didn't have those answers. In my heart, I felt like this is the way I needed to go. And I applied and was accepted, and the rest is really history.
Wow. First of all, I'm sorry that you had to suffer so long. When you were 8 till when you were in high school, that's so long to suffer with that chronic issue.
You thank you for that. But I forgot to conclude that chapter of my life. Actually, though it was a long time, it was well worth it, because it just confirmed that I made the correct decision. Because once I enrolled in medical school, once I was accepted at the University of Bridgeport College of Naturopathic Medicine, I learned that the students could be seen for free by upperclassmen who were supervised by licensed doctors. So I'm thinking in my mind, this is the perfect opportunity for me to experience this medicine since no one else knows about it, right? Like, now I can know, is this the right path? So I signed up, and I got a wonderful, at the time, upperclassman, now Dr. Medea T. She actually practices in Connecticut currently. She's a phenomenal doctor. And she was doing the dual program of naturopathic medicine and acupuncture. And when I saw her in the clinic, she asked me what every doctor would ask you, when did it start? And I told her. And I thought, well, that's weird, but anyway, she also gave me some acupuncture treatment. We chatted a little bit about my diet and lifestyle and things that were going on. And again, I'm a naturopathic student, right? Commuting from the Bronx. I have family. So if you just think about my life at the time, kind of leads you to where she made the decision to share with me by the end of that session, the first session, that I think you're undergoing a lot of stress. And I was like, really? You think so? I don't feel stressed. I'm pretty happy. Everything's lining up well. What are you talking about? And she gave me a small protocol to follow, some things to consider. And literally, by the time I met with her 2 weeks later, I was 97% improved. I didn't have to take over-the-counter antihistamines every single day just to manage my hives. I was more comfortable. I wasn't breaking out and looking disfigured. It was mind-blowing that I wasn't popping a pill every single day just to get through the day in just under 2 weeks. So
you had struggled for so many years.
Exactly. But like I said, for me, it was just like, man, I'm glad that happened that way, because if I had found somewhat of a Band-Aid solution sooner, then maybe I would have just stuck it out and said, oh, well, this is good enough. But once the struggle was so long and so intense that finally when I got the treatment and in 2 weeks I had such a vast turnaround, I was like, this is it for sure. Yeah. I'm in this place.
Yeah, that's true, because you had got a big dose of modern medicine in that time period. You had seen the pediatricians and the dermatologists and the allergists, and nothing had fixed you, so to speak. And so I'm sure that really played a huge part in your decision making. And it's really kind of cool how all of that led you to where you're at today. And now you can help so many other people.
Yeah, definitely. I am so thankful for my experience. I really don't see it as a struggle at all. I just see it as the reason for my conviction, the reason why I am so passionate about what I do. And it just really solidified my decision at that moment in time. I was like, yes, this is exactly where I need to be. This is what I want to do. This is how I want to help.
Hey, Daily Wellness listeners. I wanted to let you know about a new resource that may be a huge help to you. I became acutely aware of my emotional struggles when I got married. I didn't know how to talk about them, process them, or regulate them. Parenting was another eye-opener. Now, I not only have to figure out my emotions, but I need to help my kids process theirs as well. Is this a struggle that you can relate to? Todd Marchant, who was on my podcast a while back, along with his wife Ashley, has created a tool to help us. Their new course gives kids and families emotional tools to navigate life well. It's a 5-week series that you can try for free for 7 days. You can check it out via the link in the show notes. And if you purchase it, come back and let me know because I have a free gift to add to it, answering one of the most common questions I'm asked about health and wellness. Now back to the episode. Yeah. Okay. So now fast forward to being a naturopathic doctor and practicing for 12 plus years. I'm curious, in the people that you are helping, can you just give us an idea of some of the struggles that you help people with? Like, what are some of the main issues that people come to you with, hoping for solutions?
Certainly. Oftentimes, like, people first come, I'm trying to lose weight, can't lose the weight, and I'm tired, right? But really, those people are not just battling weight gaining issues or just fatigue, but they're having digestive issues. They have problems with sleep. Women, I see mostly women and children. The women have menstrual irregularities. They're having mood swings. I also have women with issues with autoimmune disease, thyroid conditions and disorders, and such. Children mostly are coming with digestive issues and behavioral problems, maybe even learning. I see autism a lot. So those are just kind of the core of conditions that I see mostly.
Yeah. And would you say like most of those people have maybe tried some things already on their own or with another doctor and are kind of coming to you as like, nothing has worked? Like, what do I do?
Yeah, a lot of mostly, they've seen a primary care physician, an MD, an allopathic doctor. Maybe they've been given, some have been given options for like medications, things to take on a daily basis. And I feel like a lot of them are feeling like, that's just a temporary solution. I want to fix, I want a real
Healing.
Healing, yes, So then they may turn to, like you said, self-help. Like they're reading books and they're looking online and they're trying little things. And I find a lot of those people also realizing that even sometimes those solutions are a little bit temporary. And then they may stumble across me and then we get to work.
Yeah. So how is your approach different than a traditional, I want to say traditional, like a modern medicine approach?
Yeah, sure. So I look at the entire lifestyle of the individual. And because I do that, I'm going to spend more time with them in the first initial consult because I want to know everything. I want to know, are they pooping and what the poop is like? I want to know, what are they eating? And I want to know, how are they sleeping? I want to know, what do they do as their regular routine? So I need a lot of information to better understand, their issue with, coming in and not being able to lose weight or having extreme fatigue. It's more than just, oh, here, take this and try this herb or this supplement and get a boost of energy. No, if you're not hydrated well, you're not going to have energy. If you're not eating the right foods, you're not nourishing your body. So my approach is very holistic, and I'm looking at every angle to see where the discord is and how we can fill in the gap.
Yeah, I love that so much because I know in my own experience and what I've heard from other people, you go to a traditional like primary care physician, like you're slotted 15 minutes usually, and maybe you could talk about two things. I was literally in a a doctor's office one time, and I was charged extra for my appointment because I talked about more than 2 issues. Like I had brought up 3 issues that I wanted to discuss. And so I got charged extra because I went over the apparent number of issues that I was like, what is this? That doesn't even make sense.
It hurts my heart to hear those stories, but it does happen. And unfortunately, to the doctor's credit, like I try to really be sympathetic to them because, if they're working based on insurance, they really do have to keep a very tight schedule in order to meet, whatever their quota is for the day. Unfortunately, us as the patients are the ones that get shortchanged sometimes in that exchange because, like you mentioned, like the time allotted to you to really, express what your concern is and to have the doctor look into it is really cut short. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's all part of my life experience too, and part of my learning journey. So it's kind of like you, I don't regret the things that have happened, and I've definitely learned from them. But yeah, you just kind of get wiser as time goes on, and you're like, this doesn't really make sense. Like,
right.
So, yeah, you seek something that is a better fit for you. So in the long run, it works out. But I saw a post of yours one time on social media where you talked about the 5 pillars of health. And I thought that might be really helpful for our listeners just to hear from a naturopathic doctor. Like, what are the 5 things that we should really be focusing on for, lifelong health? So I kind of want to walk through those with you, if that's okay. I saw that your first one was sleep, which you've already talked about a little bit. One of the things that you ask your patients about, which I think is wonderful. Can you kind of talk about that topic and why you have it as one of your pillars?
Sleep is non-negotiable. Like if you're not sleeping, nothing else is going to go right. Sleep is a time where your body is able to reset and restore, regenerate. All good things happen at that time. Things are balanced out. And if you're not getting sufficient sleep for your body's needs, then everything else is going to have a trickle-down effect on every other area of your life. And, you can't out-supplement sleep. You can't, do without so that you can, make more money or have, more time doing other things that you think are more important. Sleep is essential. So I do think that's like the first pillar. Set that straight and then everything else can follow.
Yeah, that's a good idea. What are some, if people are having trouble sleeping, what are some tips for getting better sleep?
I love to talk about sleep hygiene because as I've matured in age, I mean, when I came out of medical school, I'm telling you, that's all I needed to do. I didn't need anything. I just wanted to sleep. Let me sleep. I'd be happy. But as I've gotten older and, running a business, having children, sleep sometimes takes a sidestep or, becomes a lower priority. But one of the things that I feel sleep hygiene is so important because, you may hear sleep is good, you need to sleep, but what helps you to do that best?
Right. I feel like so many people struggle to sleep. Like it's a big problem, like, insomnia or just trouble staying asleep or, like trouble falling asleep. It's a big issue.
Absolutely. So one of the things is making sure that the environment is set for sleep, so in the bedroom really is set for intercourse and sleep. That's it. There should be no screens in the bedroom, TVs, laptops, cell phones, at least not for use, tablets, Kindles, those types of things. So screen time, 30 minutes before bedtime, shut it down, making sure the room is dark. So if you have windows or if you have electronics or if your Wi-Fi router, I think that's a huge no-no. But if it happens to be in the bedroom, shut it down at nighttime, unplug it. Night lights, get rid of them. Clocks, digital clocks that project light, take them out and make sure the bedroom is solid, pitch black, solid black. And then the temperature should be really chilled. It shouldn't be warm and cozy. Your blanket should be able to provide that warmth for you. but the room itself should be at a cooler temperature, several degrees cooler than the rest of the home, or at least then you would keep it during the daytime to really promote better sleep. And then, of course, if you're trying those things, you're doing those things, and still there's some issues with sleep, to help you better fall asleep, I love to encourage people to do things like Epsom salt baths or foot baths at the very least if you don't have a bathtub. The magnesium in the Epsom salt helps to relax you, to unwind and fall asleep. Also doing things like in the morning time, believe it or not, in the beginning of the day to do alternating hot and cold in the shower to help kind of like reset your nervous system a little bit. And so when you do that consistently, that can help also to regulate sleep patterns for you later on in the daytime. And then melatonin, of course, I love on a case-by-case as needed basis, starting with the smallest amount. More is not necessarily better in the case of melatonin, but a 1 milligram to 5 milligrams, to start and increase over time, depending on the effects, to get some really good sound sleep. And then there's herbs that you can drink in tea form, which I like to encourage people to do and swap out for the alcohol that some people think. The wine at dinner time kind of helps them feel great, but the alcohol can really disrupt your sleep as well.
It's true. I love the 30 minutes before bed turn off screens idea for a lot of reasons. The blue light and the nervous system stimulation and all those things. And so I think it's hard for people to make that switch because you're either watching a show till right before you go to bed, or you're scrolling on your phone right before you go to bed, or you're finishing some last minute emails or whatever. But so many things are related, even if you're making a grocery list. I mean, my grocery list is on my phone. So it's hard to get away from that. So I would just say, like, some things that I have done, I have turned off the Wi-Fi router at night. And so if you can't use your Wi-Fi, that is one kind of prompt to, okay, stay off the electronics. And to make that easier, I put it on a timer so that my Wi-Fi just clicks off and on at a certain time. And then make some new nightly routines that are like that you're excited about, like whether that's, self-care type things like doing the foot soak like you recommended, or doing some skincare stuff, or reading a book. Get a book that you're excited about. Anything like that would be better than the screen time. So those are some of my nightly routines that I've incorporated so that I have a plan to fill that 30-minute gap instead of just being tempted to go back to a screen.
Love it. Love it. It's true. It really is all it's about. It's just making a healthy switch, finding the things that'll better serve you for that purpose. Because unfortunately, we live very hectic lives. We're all super busy, have lots of responsibilities, and I am totally guilty of it. I have lots of gadgets and lots of electronics that I rely on to get things done, or, to help me out, to help me remember things. I put my grocery list in my phone as well. I take notes, but I try to keep like a pen and paper or a pencil near the bedstand to just do a brain dump at bedtime. That's also helpful for some of the patients I work with. Just telling them, just jot down whatever comes to mind that you may be thinking of at bedtime that you're like, oh, let me just search it really quick before I go to bed. No, actually just write it down so that tomorrow you can take care of it, and then find a good book to read, or read the Bible and right before bedtime and sip your tea and, make a routine that's relaxing and like you mentioned, something that you can look forward to every night.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Your second pillar is hormones. So why did you put that as one of your pillars?
Because I am always talking about stress. Stress is huge because in my story, my personal story that I shared, that was the underlying cause of my chronic hives from 8 years old up until I was about 26 when I started medical school. So at that time in my life, I was going through family dynamics, a change in my family dynamics. And it was, for me at the time, exciting, but excitement is also a form of stress. And as a result, I internalized that and expressed it in my condition. And so I find it very important to talk about like just how your stress hormones, like namely cortisol, can impact the other areas of your health. So how stress impacts female hormones, how it impacts, your mood, how it impacts even your sleep, digestive function. So hormones is a huge part in the work that I do with my patients, because without understanding the influence of stress, then you just think, well, oh, this is just normal. Like I've had women think, oh, my PMS symptoms, this is just kind of what it's just been. This is how it is. This is normal for me. But it doesn't have to be normal. It can be better. So we talk about how to balance that and how to get a more helpful or beneficial effect by managing stress. So instead of just saying stress, I say hormones, because it will influence female hormones, thyroid hormones, and so on and so forth. So.
Yeah, it's really interesting to think about stress impacting female hormones. So you're saying it can impact things like painful periods, infertility, things like PCOS, all those type of hormones?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Blood sugar hormones, hunger, satiety hormones, everything can be affected by stress, and so stress is not necessarily the problem, but how we manage the stress. Everyone's going to experience stress. We're designed to handle stress, but it's the way that we respond to the stress and how consistent the stress is in our lives, then that will dictate, to what degree of a severity it will have an impact on female hormones, and then the symptoms you experience as a result.
So what are some things that you personally do to intentionally care for your hormones?
Well, I absolutely love practicing deep breathing. That's been like so relaxing for me. That is free and you can use it at a moment's notice.
Yes, anywhere, anytime, for free.
Anytime. That's right. I love free things. But also too, I love moving my body. I have learned to love roller skating. Something that I picked up recently. So that and riding my bike and going for walks have been my go-tos for really helping to manage my stress. Manage my stress in order to help make a positive impact on my hormones. And then, of course, eating for hormones. I want to make sure that I'm providing my body with the things to keep those hormones in the right ratio. So I love the cruciferous vegetables, keep them in my diet. I love my my broccoli sprouts, in my daily routine. Making sure there's always fiber in my meals to help keep those bowels going. Very important, as the liver handles those hormones, that we make sure that they are packaged in our stool to exit our body, so that we get rid of them after our bodies have done doing the work with them. So I make sure to, load my diet with fiber and make sure to keep my blood sugar stable, eating a decent amount of clean protein throughout my day. And I try to start my day in a way that doesn't spike my blood sugar. So I love coffee. Anyone that knows, I enjoy a great cup of organic coffee almost every day if I can. But I won't touch it until I've had a protein first or some fiber first, in order to make sure that I'm not just, spiking my blood sugar with my delicious cup of joe.
Yes, that's so good. It's such a great tip and an easy switch to make, just having coffee after breakfast.
Afterwards.
You'll have the coffee, just have it after breakfast.
There you go. Enjoy that coffee. I'll tell you, make sure you enjoy that cup.
Yeah, I one of the things that I realized was causing stress in my life was relationships. And so just taking some time to learn about healthy boundaries and relationships and process my emotions and relationships was a huge thing for me in helping my stress hormones.
Oh my, yes. That's a huge piece, isn't it?
Mm.
Sometimes that is the source of the stress, like for everyone it's subjective. It can be bills, it can be family, it can be friends. Um, it could be environmental stuff, toxins, your diet can be a stress. But yeah, definitely acknowledging and recognizing where the stress is coming from and taking steps to reduce it or mitigate how it impacts you and taking control of it. Because like I said, you can't stop the stress, but you can definitely manage how you react to it. And if that calls for establishing boundaries in relationships or, changing your diet, getting counseling,
Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
Absolutely. You kind of mentioned this already, but detoxification is your third pillar. And you say that, out with the old and in with the new. And I think the word detox is thrown around a lot. And I'm not sure that everyone has a clear understanding of even what it really is or how important it is. So can you just kind of walk us through the importance of this pillar and how that works in our body?
Yeah, detox is, I like to say to my patients, it's not a product or a package, of products. It's actually a normal process that your body goes through to protect you.
That is so good. It's not a package, it's a process. I love that.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to, you see that all the time. Here's the detox package, but that's so good. It's something your body's already doing. Yeah.
Body does it every day for you to keep you well. And you can support it or you can hinder it, right? So I talk about this and the reason why is because the one way you can have what I think is the biggest impact on your body's detox abilities is by looking at what you're putting into your body, because essentially what you're putting into your body, that's mostly of where the detox has to happen. So everything you eat is not going to be used by your body. Some things are just waste, are just, excess and has to be gotten rid of. So if you're not eating good quality to begin with, you're asking your body to do a whole lot of detox work. But if you're eating wholesome nutrition that maybe had some unnecessary things added to it, then the detox doesn't need to be that intense, right? So that's one part of it. The other part is what you expose your body to, and not only your body, but also your mind too, as well, right? If you're putting toxic things on things that are not beneficial for your skin, you're absorbing that into your bloodstream. So again, your body's natural detox pathways have to clean that up to keep you safe and, eliminate the things that are no good for you from what you've been exposed to. And then, of course, like I said, emotional toxins, those are some of the biggest toxins and things that your body has to purge and get rid of. And you have to find a place, I kind of talked about that already, to make that detox happen, because that can have a significant and huge impact on your overall health. So supporting your body's liver, which is, the largest, well, not the largest, but the main player in detoxification. Although your skin is the biggest organ of detox, so equally as much as what you eat being as important as what you put on your skin is huge for when it comes to detox. And then, of course, the kidneys also play a role as well in helping to maintain balance in the body and keeping things that are necessary and letting go of things that don't serve your body well.
Yeah, that's good. And it's an interesting thing that we just did in our house, because in our homeschool group, our youngest kids are learning about the body. And one of the sentences that they had to memorize for science this last week is, what are 4 parts of the excretory system? And they say 4 parts of the excretory system are urinary tract, lungs, skin, and intestines. Out of the 4 things these are my little class of 9-year-olds on Mondays. This is one of their memory work things. And so we got to talk through a lot of these things that we just shared about. Like, these are all ways that our body detoxes. And so it's not just your poop and your intestines, it's also your lungs, like making it you have clean air to breathe in and that you are breathing well. I went through a season of time because of stress and stuff that my anxiety was making it literally hard for me to breathe, and it affected my health in so many ways. And so that really is an important part of detox. And your skin, like you said, not just what you put in, but making sure that you're sweating and getting those toxins out through your skin. And then your urinary tract, making sure that you're drinking plenty of liquids to flush out toxins that way. So it was a interesting conversation to have with 9-year-olds.
Also, I love it. But that's how the change really happens. That's really the most impactful changes in teaching the children, because you don't want to wait until you become an adult and then you start facing health challenges to really understand this stuff. They're young enough and they're open to it. Teach them. Yeah,
true. Yeah, another thought on that is thinking about sweating and stuff. Just the use of antiperspirants. Like, I've really definitely gotten my whole family away from that and encourage people not to buy antiperspirants and remind them that it's natural and good for the body to sweat. And also just like, it's right. If you put antiperspirants, like the ingredients in those are so bad, right on your armpit, right by your breast, tons of lymph nodes all in there, which is part of your detox system as well. And so just one little simple tip, like if you want to improve your detox, like stop using antiperspirants.
Absolutely. Totally agreed. Make your own deodorants. It's so easy. There's so many recipes. So easy to do. Simple. And thank you for sharing that point, because it's true. That's like, I think that was the first healthy change that I made once I became a naturopathic medical student, was ditching my deodorant. It was at a time where it's like, oh my gosh, to sweat, that's normal, that's natural. I was like, that's unheard of. Nobody wants to sweat. Like,
yeah, I'm not saying that it looks pretty all the time, because I sweat very easily and I get, it's not fun to deal with sometimes, but I just have to remind myself that it's okay.
Yes, it is totally okay. It is. And there's excellent, deodorants that are natural that you can sweat, but you won't be smelling, funky or, offensive. But they work equally as well without the negative side effects, the negative impact, like you mentioned, on your breast tissue for women and men, and your lymphatic system as well.
Yeah. So number 4 pillar is stress management, which we've kind of talked about with stress hormones. But could you maybe just talk about the long-term effects of chronic stress? Like, why is that, taking care of that stress hormone, making sure that you're managing your stress? What have you seen in your clinic for people dealing with chronic stress? Like, what are the outcomes of that?
Yeah, chronic stress can lead to so many issues besides fatigue, right? But if you think about it, like when you're under a lot of stress, you're not making the wisest and the healthiest decisions at that time, So just that in and of itself, that's where I see some of the patients I work with where they'll mention like, I'll have a drink to relax and unwind. And one drink turns into many drinks, and maybe a problem or not a problem, but, something that they wouldn't have otherwise done if they weren't in a very stressful situation. Actually, research even shows us that stress is the major contributor to the 6 leading causes of death for us: cancer, coronary heart disease, even respiratory disorders, cirrhosis of the liver, suicide, and accidental injury. So stress is a huge problem. Chronic stress and the way it's managed, if not managed properly, because again, everyone is going to experience stress in their lifetime. It was just how we deal with that stress, and then what can happen down the line if we don't handle it well. Then the body has to compensate somehow. You can't stay in fight or flight for a very long time. When I talk to my patients about chronic stress, like I give them the example of standing in the face of a tiger. When you're standing in front of a tiger, think about what you'd be thinking about. You're not thinking about digesting. Your body doesn't want to digest the lunch that you just had, or you're not thinking about quality, good REM sleep. You're not thinking about, making the proper balance of hormones to maintain fertility. Instead, your body's main purpose is to get you out of the face of danger. And so what that tells your body is your brain starts to signal to the rest of your body, hey, stop everything else, stop all hormone production, just shut it down. And right now, just focus channeling all the blood that you can supply to your large muscles so you can get out of the face of danger. And essentially, that's what's happening when we have relationships that are not healthy for us, when we're looking at our bills stacking up on the table, or we're having work-related stress, or whatever, or maybe it's, traffic that you're in that causes you stress. Whatever your tiger is, it really just, it stops everything else from working well. And so when I see these patients that come to me with this chronic stress, it looks like hormone imbalances. It looks like I can't sleep, I'm fatigued. And also the digestive issues come up, right? Fertility problems, because your body's not in a relaxed state to allow those things to happen. Your thyroid won't work well. You'll gain weight very easily because of being in front of the tiger for too long. So that's the problem, is just being there too long. So we need to take that fight or flight response and shorten it. That should only last a very short period of time. And then your restful and relaxation response, that should have a much longer duration. And that's where all the magic happens. That's where the hormones get balanced, the sleep happens, the fertility, the healthy weight balance, right? All those things, digestive function, all those things happen in that state.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's so good to put specific outcomes out there to let people know that these things are actually related to stress, because unfortunately stress is just so normalized in our culture and sometimes even glorified, that we don't connect the dots, that, oh, this is not normal to live in this much stress. And, oh, my issues are actually related to, chronic stress. Some people don't connect those dots. And so I think that's super helpful. Let's deep dive into pillar number 5. Pillar number 5 is nutrition. And we've already touched on it several times, which absolutely makes sense, because all of these issues are not isolated things, right? They're all very connected, which is why you practice medicine the way you do. But let's kind of dive into nutrition and kind of spell out a few things for the listeners. I noticed that how you described nutrition is fueling your way to radiant health. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, because, as much as food should taste delicious, there's really only one purpose for us to eat food on a daily basis, and that is to nourish our body, to fuel our body. The food contains nutrition that our body needs so it can do its job. It can keep our hormones coming and keep us feeling great and fertile. It keeps us feeling full and satiated. It keeps us having more energy. It allows us to, to grow and to overcome infections if we should, get one. So this is the purpose of food. But unfortunately, over the years, for so many reasons, one of them I usually like to say, because of convenience, the need for convenience, food has just become more tasty than nutritious oftentimes. And so if you're not conscious of it, it's easy to get, deceived and to believe that, everything you eat should taste amazing and you only want to eat delicious tasting food, never mind, what's the nutritional content of the food. So I like to always say, like, you know, your food should come from the ground. It should grow from the ground or grow on trees, or it should eat grass or swim and live in the oceans, you know? And that's kind of like how you should think about food, and making sure that your diet consists of that type of thing.
Yeah, that's absolutely. I mean, you talk about food being tasty. You're so right, because all the processed food, they've added all the preservatives, the MSG, the corn syrups, the natural flavors, all the things that trick our taste buds into thinking, oh, this tastes the best, and this is what I want more of and more of and more of. And then we lose track of what our body actually needs.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And even like in that too, like for little children, like, you know, what is the thing that our body is most made up of? We're more than 70% water, right? But nowadays it's so difficult sometimes for some parents to even feed their children water because they're so addicted or so accustomed to having juices in their diet, you know, and they think water tastes disgusting, you know. But that's actually what our body needs. It's not the high fructose corn syrup. It's not the caramel color or the carbonation. It's the just water we need, you know. So that can have such a huge impact when people start making the small changes, because it doesn't have to be a radical change, you know, for people that are accustomed to the convenience of the processed foods. And, you know, if you're coming off of that lifestyle, it can be difficult for those people because usually it has some other connection, whether it's convenience, it might be emotional, it just might be affordability. But whatever their reasoning for choosing, you know, that kind of diet, it can be difficult, but water, just simply water. That's where we start.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the simple things are the best things most often. Like, you know, keep your meals really simple, keep your drinks really simple, and that's usually the healthiest option.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And which is kind of a relief, because if you are trying to transition to whole foods, real foods, nutritious foods, just knowing that that doesn't have to be fancy, doesn't have to take a lot of time. It takes some learning to learn, you know, what real food is versus processed fake foods. But it doesn't have to be fancy. And once you kind of learn what those foods are, it's actually pretty simple to put on a plate.
Yes. And like you said, it's a huge relief because it doesn't lend you to hours in the kitchen or, you know, having to watch hours of cooking videos to learn how to prepare it. It really is so simple.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I cook a lot, so I would be in a lot of trouble if I had to spend hours in the kitchen for every meal. I'd be so burnt out. Okay, this has been awesome. So we got the 5 pillars: sleep, hormones, detoxification, stress management, and nutrition. Is there anything else that's on your heart that you would just love to share with people? Before I have 3 ending questions for you, but I wanted to see if there's anything else that you had on your heart to share.
Yeah, certainly. One thing that I was thinking of that I love to do, which I forgot to mention before, but you kind of alluded to it with detoxification, right? And hormone balancing. One of my favorite kind of go-to things is the infrared sauna. Is an excellent tool if you can, you know, go to a spa or a gym and access it. And there are companies that sell personal units. It's amazing for supporting elimination of toxins and excess hormones, and as well as just eliminating and promoting detox through the skin. It's so good, so refreshing, and it is definitely on the top of my daily routine as for what I do for hormone health. But of course, everyone's different, you know, and certain people, like if you're experiencing neuropathy or you're diabetic and you don't really have a lot of, you know, sensitivity in your extremities, you want to be careful with the detoxification and always check with your primary care before starting any new protocol or anything like that. But for everyone, you just have to find what works for you and go with it and start slow. You don't have to do everything all at once, but as we mentioned before, I think sleep is priority number one. And then, of course, fueling your body will help in so many ways across the board. So I just wanted to drive that point home.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So my 3 ending questions, number 1 is, what healthy living resources would you recommend for someone that wants to learn more about health?
So the Environmental Working Group, EWG.org, is a really great site. It kind of talks about a lot of environmental toxins in your personal care products and lifestyle and how they impact your health. And they do a lot of amazing work. So that's one that I love to follow and encourage patients to take a look at. The other is the Weston Price Foundation. I love them. I was always fond of Weston Price's work. When I learned about it in medical school, I thought that was phenomenal. Looking how nutrition can it's so different from, world cultures and in comparison to where we are today with the standard American diet. So they have an awesome Instagram page. So I encourage people to look at that and browse that and go to their website.
Well, could you tell us about your resources? Like, how can people connect with you or reach out to you if they're interested in working with you?
Certainly. I am on Instagram at HHW Naturopathic. I have a website that I'll be launching the end of this week on Friday. We revamped it. I'm really excited. It's www.hhwnaturopathic.com. You can find me there and get some information about the work that I do and what my practice is like.
Good. That's great. Thank you. Second question is, what is your favorite healthy snack?
Oh, my favorite healthy snack. It changes. It varies when I find new things, but I love to snack on dates.
Mm-hmm.
I love to snack on dates. They're sweet, they're filling, and they're quick. So I keep them handy, and that's my favorite as of lately. That's what I've been snacking on. Dates.
Yes. We like dates in our family too, to sweeten different things, but I also like to put peanut butter or almond butter in the middle, and I'll freeze them like that. And then it's so delicious.
I've heard about this. And every time I buy them, I say, okay, this batch, I'm going to try them like that. I'm like, they're so good by themselves.
They are. I don't know what it is, just that little bit of nutty flavor. I just love the two together. But third question is, who would you love to see as a guest on the Daily Wellness Podcast? If you tuned in and you saw, oh my goodness, that person's on the podcast, I have to listen. Who would you love to see?
If I had to choose just one, I think I'd like to see Dr. Farr on the Daily Wellness Podcast. Dr. Farr is an awesome naturopath who I met. We took our boards together, and she is she's a few years younger than me for sure, but she.
I'm glad you said her, because I said, tell me about him. So now I know the girl.
I'm going to follow Robin. Yeah, she's a practicing naturopath, and she's I think she's doing great things, and I'd like to hear her share her story, which we didn't have time to get into at the time when we studied for boards, but I think she'd be a really nice addition. She's very open-minded and very smart doctor. So I think it'd be cool to see her on your podcast.
Cool. Oh, great. Thanks for the recommendation.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time here. Thanks for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for what you're doing with your work and how you're helping people.
Oh, thank you so much for allowing me to be a guest on your podcast and for the work that you've done, not only for yourself, for your family, and you're spreading it far and wide. I think it's very commendable and I appreciate you so much.
Thanks for listening to today's episode on the Daily Wellness Podcast. We hope that you found it helpful for your own wellness journey. And if so, we'd love for you to leave a review. Then come back and listen for review shoutouts on upcoming episodes. For more information, check out the show notes and connect with us on our website, dailywellnesscommunity.com.